40 years. For 40 years, we've been in, since 1988, we've been really into it, really creating skincare technologies. And about 27 years ago, we started working on something that was really causing us stress, in the sense that we started working on something called menopausal skin or menopausal aging or hormonal aging. And at the time, 27 years ago, and I know this because this is when we had Keon. That's why I know it specifically. We were told we were not allowed to talk about menopause because we're in skincare.
It's insulting.
And no, it was not even that. Don't you remember when they were saying you're in skincare and you're not allowed to treat or cure any disease? And we're like, menopause is not a disease. And it's very interesting to see the last 25 years how people have looked at menopause, and now people are embracing it. Now, even last week, Oprah apparently did a show on menopause. Everybody's talking about menopause. Everybody's like, talking about and sharing more information about it. But menopause is not a new thing. It's been happening since we've been humans, right? It's been something, well, if you live long enough, you go into this later stage in your life of menopause where your body changes, your hormones change. And this is very natural. But what we've learned is certain things deviate, start falling apart, or rapidly decline. And therefore, we want to go in there as a topical and support that. So this is what the show is about today.
Right. And, it's it can get quite complex from our side, okay, when we're trying to look at how the skin changes, because there is a domino effect. Okay, so one thing changes and it affects something else, and then that affects something else. So all of a sudden, one issue causes many, many, many different problems. And so as scientists, we need to look at all of those. We need to see if this changes, how it affects point A, how it affects point B, how it affects point C. And that is what we're going to try to explain to you today, as when we're going through our menopause or we're premenopausal, exactly what happens to our skin, what are the key changes, and what are some of the things that are really, really important, and there's a lot of data on it, but we're not paying attention to it. So there's a lot to cover. They're not necessarily super complicated. I don't want to scare you, but I take a lot of notes because when you have too many things to mention, sometimes you forget to mention one of those key important things. So I'm going to refer to my notes a lot because I don't want to miss any key important things. So first of all, what I put here, it is not just a hormonal change. This hormonal change causes and affects so many different things in your skin that they're, in terms of biochemistry of that hormonal change, they're all related. And we need to address all of those. So just if you're trying to just approach it by means of just adjusting a hormone level, you may not be able to address it all. So let's take a look at it as to what actually happens to our skin. Okay, our skin, look at this, 30% collagen reduction in 5 years. That is really significant.
In the first 5 years?
Yeah.
And some things I've noticed, and not to debate you, but some have said 30% collagen loss in the first 12 months.
Yeah.
So I guess the 5-year average is maybe people on HRT or not HRT. But I guess the long and the short is 30% collagen
significant
loss.
Let's not stick to a number. Significant collagen depletion.
In a short period of time.
In a short period of time. And look, this also causes other problems. Moisture retention in your skin is going to diminish.
Yeah.
In two ways. Your transepidermal water loss is going to increase. Your mechanisms that actually maintain the moisture within the skin with those aquaporin channels, it's going to get affected as well. So it's like a double whammy here. Okay?
Also, doesn't the collagen itself, it's also a bit of a sponge, and as it gets older, it becomes less?
Collagen is like, when, think about it this way, when we buy collagen powder, okay, and we want to make a jelly dessert or jello is has a lot of collagen and sugar mixed in it. So when you mix that with water, you see how it holds that moisture, that water.
It gets thicker.
It hangs on to it.
Yeah.
Because it forms and it binds with moisture. So less collagen, of course, drier skin.
So it's like jelly.
Yeah.
So collagen We should call it collagen jelly.
And as I said, your skin barrier weakens. So some of that is the reason that why we have excessive transepidermal water loss, moisture from our skin is going to evaporate faster. But a weakened barrier on our skin also gives an opportunity for the pathogens and environmental damage to be more successful and cause more damage on our skin. So adult acne, that's a possibility. More stress from UV light, more pigmentation because of the stress factors, barrier function compromised. All those can happen. Age spots happen. Some of it is related to that barrier function. That circulation, super important. Circulation does so many things for our skin. It's basically the channels from our blood to give nutrients to the cells and bring key important essential elements to the cells. That gets compromised, then you're going to have problems. The cells will suffer. At the same time, you may also have problems with dark circles around your eyes. Okay? So now let's summarize this in a little differently. Here I made this title because it's really important. It's menopause actually rewrites your skin. It changes the biology of your skin.
Right.
And we want to fight that. And we have ammunition to fight it. We just need to think about it very carefully. So we talked about the collagen loss, 30%. Let's not stick to a number. Dramatic collagen loss.
No, I like 30. It's just I think the 5 years is telling people they have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And they really don't have that time. It really happens very quickly. And also what's even crazier, as we'll get into a little bit more, is people are assuming, oh, menopause, I don't have to think about it till I hit 50 or 45. No. 35, you need to start thinking about it. Because 35 is already on that channel to go into that. You know?
You can prepare your skin for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hormonal imbalance, your estrogen declines, you're going to get less elasticity in your skin. The fat distribution in your skin is going to modify. The fat sometimes gets reduced in some areas, in other places under the eye. When it gets reduced, it drops. So it actually, even though maybe less, there is more of it showing. So you get that consistent, permanent, puffy eyes under your eyes. That happens. Hydration, self-explanatory. We talked about that. That causes not only dryness, but drier skin is more wrinkled skin. Think of a grape and a raisin, and how that's one of the key differences between the two is loss of water.
It's loss of water. So keep that in mind, the grape and the raisin. Because if you were to take that raisin and put it in olive oil, it would remain a raisin.
Right. There is no hydration in oil. Right. Then circulation decreases, radiance, nutrition delivery time, cellular turnover. This part, UV vulnerability. So that was the thing that I was trying to add. Your barrier gets compromised, then you have other problems. Now look at it. The melanocyte functions changes. That's about the pigmentation. The pigmentation in your skin increases. Your photosensitivity increases. So you have to be more aware of sun exposure. Not that you avoid it. You make sure that you limit it to the right amount. That's the key thing. And then this whole thing creates a very complicated soup, which we need to address. Now, let's look at this face, and this is a computer-generated face. So I said, age this face for me, and make one side young and the other side combine all the effects of the menopause. So I dictated it to it. You're having lines, you're having dry skin, you have this, and then look.
Volume loss.
Look at under the eye. You get more dark circles. You get more pronounced wrinkles. Deeper nose to mouth lines.
This flattens out.
Yeah. The texture of your skin changes. Your skin is dry. You get those lines on the forehead.
More lines.
And then here you get a little bit more droopy on your jawline. The whole face starts sagging down a little bit more. So these are the overall issues. So around the eyes, then we talked about the fat pads coming down, uh, capillary fragility, worsening dark circles, hyaluronic acid depletion, drier skin, and slower cellular turnover. Okay, and then structural fat loss, distribution issues, making the whole skin fall down as the estrogen decline, collagen and elastin breakdown, reduced microcirculation, the toned color of your skin becomes more dull, you lose that radiance. So those are all the effects that you can kind of unfortunately expect when you're going to go through menopause if you're not trying to look after. So this is what Manuela was talking about 27 years ago. We started thinking about that, and we realized that one of the key things that naturally can supplement the skin with phytoestrogens or plant estrogen is soy. Soy has a lot of good effect on, in terms of supporting the the estrogen in your skin through its nutrients that it has. So we started looking at that, but you looked at it different. We didn't just take a simple soy extract. We went to germinating soy because we knew at that time the germinating soy, that chemotherapy, then when you get that at age 0, it was at that time closest thing we could get to stem cells in terms of the technology.
We were the first.
Yeah, look, that was
Age
really
zero,
closest thing. We were talking about embryonic cells, right?
So we were thinking
So
back then.
that's where our thought process was working. So we started using that. We at that time we start looking at how we can affect the dark circles. We use a very popular ingredient from Sederma that's based on haloxyl, that is another peptide, and
Serious dark circles.
right.
It's like award
really
winning.
one of the best ingredients for dark circles.
Yeah.
We went to hyaluronic acid. At that time, the technology in hyaluronic acid was not as advanced today. I'm going to explain to you later. So we used the highest concentration of the hyaluronic acid that we could in the formulation to supplement the dryness and correct the dryness in the skin. We used phosphatidylcholine. We were, I think, one of the first.
Yes.
Sometimes when you say I'm the first, you have to go and do all kinds of research. But to the best of my knowledge, nobody was using it. And the whole how this thing started, I'll be very honest with you. I was reading some journals, scientific journals, and there was this dermatologist that actually was trying to address fat pads, and she started doing a study, and she started injecting phosphatidylcholine into the fat pads.
Yep.
And she started seeing a dramatic reduction in there. And all of a sudden, a light bulb went up because I don't like needles. I said, well, we were at the 21st century. It was not like the 18th century. The technology of delivery system and things like that and liposomes, we had access to that back then. And I said, well, we can find a way to deliver this thing into the skin, and why we can try to avoid the use of the needles. And that was the starting point when we started using the phosphatidylcholine to address the appearance of those fat pads. And then we were using really key antioxidant ingredients in there because we know that the skin, when it gets stressed, when there's a lot of inflammation, there's a lot of free radicals in there that those will spin off and cause more damage. So we combined this technology back then. At that time, honestly, it was a comprehensive way to tackle the problem. But technology advances, we come across newer ingredients, we understand more mechanisms. So we reached a time that there was time to regenerate our product for the eye. We changed the name. It used to be called R-Pure, and now it's Phytoestrogen Firming Eye Serum. So this basically is our original R-Pure for Eyes evolved. advanced, okay? And we have a lot of young members in our team, and they like to change names. Okay, so
but it was a good thing because we started with Resurgence, we had to change it to R, and now it's called phytoestrogen. And you know why we were even calling it Resurgence back then? Is because we couldn't say phytoestrogen. Remember, an estrogen compound, plant compound, that was again, your skincare, you can't do that. And so 27 years ago, it was very, very controlled and very limiting, restrictive, right? So as young entrepreneurs, or not even entrepreneurs, as young scientists and innovators, it's hard because you hit walls all the time. So you try to work with what you can. So Resurgence, we wanted to bring back, because we couldn't say regenerate or renew or replant, these are certain words. So Resurgence, we wanted to resurge the skin, bring it back, or I guess what we wanted to really do is replace those lost elements that when you have before menopause, you've got the hormones in there, and the hormones you don't even need a lot of them, but it really regulates so many things. And now you're at a deficit. We want to replace that. It's always about, Darius and I always look at like the zone. This is perfect, and things go away from the zone. We keep trying to feed it, bring it back to the zone.
We want to keep that homeostasis of the skin balanced. Okay, that's really, really important. If you maintain that, then your skin will always be at the best shape it could possibly be.
Yeah.
So let's look at what we did. So first of all, the original R-Pure was fairly comprehensive. It was looking at different mechanisms, things like that. But we came across some, and I'm giving you the trademarks. You can go and researched it by many mechanisms, you will see that some of these things are really incredible. We found the base that actually moisturizes. So we incorporated that. So it's really supposed to support the healing of the skin. We use horse chestnut in a pure form because horse chestnut has a component in it called beta-acin. And this is amazing for circulation support, and it's amazing for dark circles. So we wanted to improve on the effect of the haloxyl. We wanted to bring it because the purification techniques are getting more advanced. We can get more pure materials. We can zoom in on a particular components, and this is what we're doing with this horse chestnut. Then we are using an ingredient called Phytoestrogen that it's really different sources of the PCAs, that is the magnesium, manganese, zinc, and all these that go into the skin is for deeper hydration, part of the natural moisturizing factors of your skin, because we want to put that fire that your skin is going to sense, we want to calm it, we want to fight that inflammatory pathways that happens during menopause, we want to soothe it down. So this is really, really effective. Now, we know selenium is one of the best antioxidants. Then we found a source that actually makes the soy absorb the selenium.
Listen to this.
And then it becomes more bioavailable in the cells.
See?
Okay. So now we have a soy selenium complex in this formulation to give that super duper antioxidant effect to your skin, but at the same time bringing more benefits of that soy extract to your skin. So we are complementing the soy variety that we're putting in there, but now we are now sneaking in the selenium. What it reminds me is that I was watching a video and getting a little bit sidetracked on one of these social medias. So the dogs sometimes don't want to eat broccoli. Some dogs don't like to eat certain things that are good. So what they did is that they kind of blindfolded the dog and they made it smell a sausage. And then while the dog opens the mouth, they put a broccoli in the mouth. So this is basically, we are tricking the skin to kind of take that selenium in and let it go into the cell.
So it increases, it translates it better, so it can use it better. Remember, we want to, our whole goal here is to replenish and refatten the skin lipids. So you want to put everything in there that's going to help refatten, because that'll bring your elasticity back, that'll bring the density back.
So we kept all those goodies that we had before, and now we have all these new key ingredients in there to just give you better results. So for those of you that were using the R Pure, I know you loved it because that product never really expired, it just got advanced. You can expect more. You can expect better results from the new phytoestrogen eye firming complex.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on. Let's go on.
So it's R Pure for eyes, but it's more. It's updated R Pure for eyes, which is very important because that's very successful. So what we made it is, I guess, more efficient.
Exactly. So, we from day one, when we created our formulations, we always said nothing is absolute. Okay? So if you have a great formulation, you want to stay on top of the science to give the best you can possibly all the time. That is very critical. This is like, the Ferrari that was manufactured in, say, 1960s. There is still the Ferrari, but the engine has changed. There's a newer technology, there's new turbo technology, there's new different components. I'm not a mechanic. But you put an old Ferrari at that time, that Ferrari was the best, and then the new Ferrari at this time is probably one of the best. So let's now go to the face, okay? Again, when it came to the face, we were using some amazing products as our R Pure for Face serum. So I want to talk to you about what we were doing back then. We used the hyaluronic acid as the base for moisturization, and then we had certain types of access to hyaluronic acid. I elaborate on that later. We used biopeptide CL at that time at Sederma. That was a different version of the matrixyl. Right. Some people give it a higher ranking when it comes to certain things. So biopeptide CL is one of those ingredients that not many scientists really truly understood how well it worked. It was basically a healing matrixyl. That's the way I like to refer to it.
I kind of like it a lot.
We use the soy isoflavones at very high concentration. We used another trademark called Unisteron Y50, which is a wild yam complex. We incorporated that in that because wild yam itself has some great phytoestrogen support. So it was a comprehensive renewal. And then the wild yam again, it was working synergistically with the rest of the formulation. We combined all those elements again, hydration, firming, soothing, lifting, all of those elements was in there, and calming, because we wanted skin not to go through that fire sensation.
The hot flashes.
The hot flash sensation. The
hot flashes, all that.
To soothe and
prickly.
Really
prickly and
scientifically based.
Sandpapery.
Now, that was back in the year 2000. Now we have new ingredients.
Ta-da!
Now, I put some of them on the top because I want to make sure I don't forget about them, okay? So we are using now soy stem cells, okay? So this is a little bit before age 0. So we take the age 0 because the stem cells create the age 0, okay? So we are one step before. It's very potent. The studies behind it are absolutely incredible. We're going to get to those, by the way. We're using the soy selenium complex again. We talked about the selenium. We mentioned that what a great antioxidant it is, and getting it into the skin through a bioavailable way, it makes it that much better, in my opinion. We put epidermal growth factors in there because the growth factors also get compromised as we get older, especially during menopause. Remember I told you everything has a cascading system, so everything affects each other. So when one thing started with with the estrogen deficiency, it's already affecting everything else. So we're adding that now. This one here is, maybe I should have made that font that much bigger, because it's the new ingredient that was a new complex that was created by Sederma a few months ago, and it's called Feminage. Okay, it's based on a plant extract that is very, very rich in astibin. Astibilin, I misspelled it here. Astibilin, I missed an L there. Sorry. So this astibilin is an amazing ingredient for menopausal skin because it provides that lifting effect on the face. It's soothing, it's calming, it fights the pigmentation. So it's almost a multifunctional ingredient that is so unique for menopausal skin. That's why Sederma called it Feminage. Okay, so this is an ingredient that was specifically developed, created from nature by Sederma, which is one of the most advanced research laboratories, in my opinion, one of the most advanced, really, in terms of coming up with new technologies and mechanism and things like that. They really do their homework, and they put a lot of studies behind it. And we read those studies very carefully to make sure that we agree with them. And so far, honestly, I have not come across any study that I have received from Sederma and I say, well, you know what, this doesn't make sense. So they
And
really
trust
do-
us, a lot of them don't make sense.
Yeah. Yes.
So for them to have like a perfect record for 25 years is incredible.
So we still kept those phytoestrogens from soy isoflavones, from wild yam, they're all in there. We put this defense center. Also, this complex up here is very good for glycation because when we go, as not that supports glycation, a great anti-glycation. So, during menopause, we're going to experience a lot of advanced glycation proteins in our skin. So these proteins really affect the structural integrity of the collagen. The collagen starts collapsing, okay? And that collapsed collagen you may have as much collagen, but it doesn't have the three-dimensional form of it.
You know what it's like? I always say glycation to me, and we always talk about this.
Yeah.
Glycation to me is like pashmak, like cotton candy. Right? So when you get cotton candy at the beginning, it's nice and fluffy. You leave it an hour, 2 or 3 in the sun, it's the same amount of cotton candy.
If you put it on a scale, the weight doesn't change.
Doesn't change. But what happens is it squishes together and it kind of twists. Some areas are darker, some areas are lighter, because it's like this glycates. It actually doesn't just, it cross. That's why sometimes you see the crisscross. It's not just because it's kind of twisting. So it's the same weight.
It's the same mattress, but just collapsed.
Space. Yes.
It just collapsed. Same weight.
Glycation is important to talk about, right? Because and as you get older, like when you're young and you hear about, vitamin C and all these antioxidants, and some of them are also anti-glycation, you think, well, that's fine. I've been using this all along. You don't really need it until you're a little bit older and it starts collapsing. So it does matter your age and stage all the time.
Right. So also, we designed this formulation that is kind of like a slow release. So when it goes on your skin overnight, you get a drip, 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 drip benefit through the night for the recovery of your skin at nighttime. So that is another key thing about this formulation. So
slow release is very good. It's better for your skin. You get better results with slow release.
It's really an advanced microdose.
Microdose, yeah. You know how I always think of slow release? Sorry to interrupt. I'm in a chatty mood today. Slow release is when we were working on a nutritional program many, many years ago. We had a delayed release or slow release system that you would take, right? So basically, they were explaining it. We were explaining it like, say you had a bucket full of tennis balls, and if I grab this bucket and I throw all the tennis balls at once, how many are you going to catch? You may catch 1 or 2, right? But if I take the same balls, but I lob them at you 1 every 10 minutes, how many are you going to catch? You're going to catch all of them. That's why delayed release is so sophisticated or so much more beneficial. So the dosages could be the same, but one, it's too much of a flood. It doesn't really catch.
The flooding of it will not do any good, right? So that's really important. Very, very good analogy. I love that analogy. So a new era in the area of the skincare.
Ta-da!
This is really truly advanced, in my opinion. We have really gone and done a research in depth. It took us a long time. Reviewing, you have no idea. I created a document that is like maybe 300 pages with all the new goodies that are around the world. We looked at them, we assessed them one by one. We look at the efficacy data. We challenged the raw material manufacturers, the R&D labs. We put them through a lot of a stress tests, if you want to call it, and then we reduced them to a selected few, and then we incorporate in this formulation. So we really believe in every single ingredient that we have added in this formulation. Because we have looked at the studies, we looked at their performance, we visited some of those labs, we look at their technology, we talk to their scientists, we know their scientists, and we incorporate in here at the clinically studied levels. So we don't just add, say, if something that was tested at, say, 4%, 5%, or 0.5%, we don't just add it to the formula just for the sake of that ingredient being on the label. We don't play those games. If we use it, we believe in it, it will be at the clinically tested level or higher. Because sometimes in the clinically tested levels, they have different levels of testing. So they tested, say, a key active ingredient at 3%, and then they also test that active ingredient at 5%. Then in their studies, they show at 3% it did this good, so it's still very effective, but at 5% it did this much. So if we see that in those studies, guess what we do? We're going to go to the higher level. So we always go above the minimum suggested level to make sure that the products work better. On top of that, we analyze, that is so important, we analyze the interaction of the ingredients that we are putting in the formulations, because sometimes doing something for the skin with one ingredient is good, and then you use it separately, but when they're together, they don't really make a good couple together, right? So they need to work together to give you better results. We pay a lot of attention to that. And then we make sure that the ingredients are actually more synergistic rather than canceling each other's effect. Now,
Is that all the
this
references?
is some of the references that they show how each of those ingredients were tested. So I just want you to know that we don't just say it because it's easy to say. We looked at the data. We looked at the results. With some of them, we have been working with them for now 27 years, and we have seen a lot of customers that they call us back and they say, oh my God, that was a great result. Oh my God, this does a wonder on my skin. It saved my skin, et cetera, et cetera. And now we have made it advance in a more scientific way.
So exciting. So exciting that we're timing it this way too, that we're able to add the new technology in here. So it's better for hormonal aging. It isn't too early to start if you're over 30, I would say 36 years old. That's where you're going to start slowly. Use this a couple times a year. You know, you don't have to use it every single day when you're in your, late 30s, early 40s. And then gradually build up, because what you want to do is you want to refatten that skin limping content. You want to work and activate that elasticity, that memory of the skin. You want to improve that microcirculation. That microcirculation is so important, because through microcirculation, you're feeding your skin. You're building your skin and the channels. And that's really important. Now we're answering questions. So, phytoestrogen versus glutathione and matrixyl for menopause. Oh, very different.
I can see where you're going with that. Those address some of the stuff of menopausal skin. So we talked about collagen depletion.
Yep.
Matrixyl helps. We talked about the antioxidants, the free radicals that are formed as a result of the hot flashes you get. Glutathione is amazing. Yes. But you're missing the key part, which is the estrogen itself.
Right.
You need to pay attention to that as well.
Can men use products for hormonal skincare?
We go through menopause.
Absolutely. They go through menopause as well. It's not just even though they said feminage, which don't let's even get into that one. But even though they say that, I mean, this is something about age and stage. And yes, of course, we have hormones, we change, our body depletes. And this is all about the regulation of that fat and the adipose and the skin lipids. And so because of that depletion, that's what we're concentrating on. So men too. Men get jiggly jowls. You're going to lose the volume underneath your eye. You can see it, right? And so this is where you want to go back and rebuild it, because we know you're literally missing that that element that's so important. Will eating foods high in estrogen also help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are what you eat. There is no question about it. But the question is, how much of that estrogen may reach your skin?
There you go.
That's why I said it helps, definitely. Our body's connected, but sometimes, let me give you the. It may not be the perfect analogy, but it just gives you some perspective. So if you have a plant that is so dehydrated that you forgot to water it, say, for a month, and it's really one of the first, if you start adding water to that soil, it doesn't have enough energy to pull it up. But if you spray the leaves, you're also going to help it a lot, okay? To just give you an answer, so topical absorption can reach some certain areas that may not necessarily through ingestion you may reach the same level.
Well, that's the other thing about eating things. There's always a hierarchy, right? Where it's going to do priorities. So It's always your inner organs.
How many likes did we get?
Are we done?
How many likes? 4,000.
Okay, so are we good? Well, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in.
Remember to share, like, and subscribe.
I were about to say it. You can do it. You tell them.
Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We work hard for these educational programs.
We do enjoy it.
And we really enjoy it. And we like to hear back from you.
We do.
So we want to know if the presentations need to be tweaked a little bit or a lot, or what you want us to focus more on one part, less on the other parts. I need to hear from you, because when you guys tell us these things, then we can do a better job for you.
And also for Isomers TV, we can come up with special event and promo codes for you so that you could be able to get the kit in its entirety at a discount. So we're able to do these too. If these are of interest to you, please make the comment below and let us know. So it's really important that you talk to us, but this way we're able. You got to ask and then you shall receive. So that's very important, right? To be able to do that. We also have so much coming up this summer, this spring, summer, fall. We have huge major announcements. We have exciting things that we're working on. So we want you to be part of this community. So make sure you subscribe, follow, and share. Sign up for our newsletter. And hope to see you back next week on Isomers TV. Thursday, same bat time, different bat channel, because we try to do it at noon, but sometimes we can't. So thank you for your patience.
We're going to be talking about eyelashes.
And then, are we doing the eyelashes?
We are doing eyelashes and eyebrows, and we know a way to make those eyelash curling things that you're doing to last almost twice as long.
They're going to last twice as long.
If you want to know about it, I want to see more likes now.
We want to see eyelashes.
And I want to see how many people are going to tell me if to talk about eyelashes for next week is a good idea. Tell me.
You think it's a good idea? Are we at? And is this is working? So is this platform working now? It's on one spot. You can read it all in one place. Yeah, they don't. They're just. We're working on a new system here because we're going to try to do more content and more topics.
Right. And
more information.
So. Is the vote for eyelashes next week?
Yes.
How to make eyelashes grow thicker, longer, faster,
stronger,
and keep that curl. Keep that curl when you curl your eyelashes.
Even for menopause and younger.
Right.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Have a great Thursday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join Isomers community.